Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about a report saying that several teams will be interested in Zion Williamson. Yes, the former number one pick, perennial, I guess, rumored, headlined player for sometimes good and sometimes bad reasons. Zion Williamson is a guy that seemingly still would garner a lot of interest if teams are interested in him. According to Tim McMahon, that him and Bobby Marks wrote a summer before Zion Williamson's return discussing what might come for him, his trade value, and market potential. The report goes something along these lines that the goal was for the Pelicans to ramp him up and restore his trade value as the season came to a close. And to me, I think that is definitely interesting because, for his credit, he has done a very good job of doing so. So Zion this season, if you guys haven't heard, he's been a guy that I think has handled the need to deal with, I guess, the responsibility since returning. Even though this team's season was lost. On the year, he's played only 28 games. Yeah, a bit of a disappointment. But in 28 minutes, he's averaging 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. And it's one of those things that it's very interesting because for a guy who in February and March, he's averaging, the last 15 games, Zion has been a guy averaging 24 points, almost 7 rebounds, 5.5 assists, while shooting about 60% from the field and 50% from three, albeit not rarely shooting threes, like just not even shooting threes. A 2-time All-Star. It's interesting because 60% true shooting, the numbers are there. Like, if you're trying to poke at them, look at them, they're impactful. And his per 36 this season would be 30.5 points, 9 rebounds, almost 7 assists a game on 56% from the field. He's just not taking threes. True shooting, as we said, 60% almost. And it's what frustrates me with Zion. Obviously, the ability to be available. Availability is the best ability. That's the age-old saying. And when you look at his advanced stats, his PER, league average, is for per player efficiency rating, PER, is 15. This season, he's at 27. Last year, he was at 22.8. For his career, he's a 25, like a 10 above. So obviously playing above his punching rate. Now, this season, he is having his worst win share, 2.3, since his rookie year of 2.0. And the last year, he had 7.5. Year before that, 3.6. And in his 2020 to 21 campaign, he was 8.7. So clearly someone who can play up. And another stat to blow your mind away about Zion is this season, offensive rating of 116, last year 119, 120 year before that 124. Average for his career 120. Absurd stats. This year, defensive rating is 117, but year before 113, and year before that 112, 115 before that 114. So, and for a career average 114, about 110 is the way you want, like, league average. So, and for being on really bad squads, the fact that he has a near league average defensive rating, pretty crazy. And his per 100 possessions, he would be a 41 point per game scorer. Or per 100 possessions. Insane. So what teams are going to have cap space next year? I think that's what we'll talk next. I want to hear what teams you think would trade for him, because he would be a carte blanche as he has no guaranteed money. So let's break it down right here. Teams with salary cap space. Just if you wanted to look at Zion Williamson's cap hit for next season, it's really not that much of a doozy. 39.4. And if we wanted to look at the teams with the most cap space heading into this coming offseason, obviously the Brooklyn Nets, Detroit are the ones that are the big names, but in terms of cap space, they're going to have the most, but Zion isn't going to go there. I think out of bad teams, there's two bad teams, three bad, actually one of them's technically not a bad team. Two bad teams, like actual bad teams that could get Zion. A, I think they would be able to send a compelling package, and B, I think are the markets, regardless of the team's record or success, he'd have interest in joining. Number one, he's a South Carolina boy. Everyone has said it. Charlotte has been always a connection there, and you'd assume, my assumption right here, Miles Bridges will be traded this offseason, probably to Detroit, and you would maybe expand this into a 3-team trade. Whatever Detroit would send you, Charlotte would go to the Pelicans. Pelicans send Zion to Charlotte, and Miles goes to Detroit. Now, the next possible bad team, Chicago. Everybody who's an NBA player, for some reason, sees the Bulls as like one of those teams that you would love to play for. I've never been one of those guys, but I get it. The Jordan Bulls, Chicago's a really cool city, so I could see him going there. Now, if it's not a contending team, who would be the next team? The Atlanta Hawks and the San Antonio Spurs. I think are the two teams that, if they're not contenders, would be the ones interested in him. I think an idea of, obviously, the Spurs have so many young guys in multiple contracts that they could get that deal done, pick and choose. Obviously, it would probably be like Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, like some combination of that, maybe even Harrison Barnes. But, there's players and contracts and picks in place for that to work. And then Atlanta, I'd have to assume, who would you do that around? Because I wouldn't trade Jalen Johnson. I wouldn't trade Zachary Reese-Shea or Dyson Daniels. I wouldn't trade Okongwu. And if I'm Atlanta next year, like, we got some money, I guess the deal would be, you could do, hypothetically, a deal of like Terrence Mann, George Niang, Bufkin, Vit Krejci. That could be something hypothetical right there that like isn't out of that world. And then once you start going into the contenders, who would be the ones to do a trade for him? Phoenix, of course, because he makes less money than Durant, and that would probably be a 3-team trade. I think another could be, I don't think any of the big market, like the Clippers could maybe, but I think you're putting too many cooks in the kitchen at that point. Miami, if they miss out on Durant, I would say would be the dark horse there. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? Dallas, if they try to want to win public opinion again. Yeah, those are really the teams. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think? And yeah,